Hey everyone, and welcome to Ultraman Part 1 Outline here, fan fiction here. Let's get started. We start in a family home in Japan. In the background on the television set, there is news about earthquakes being detected in China. It is potential to be a kaiju, and this is a little bit before King of the Monsters, so we pan to the mother and her son preparing for a flight to the US. We see them driving in the snow as the earth begins to shake, and they swear out of control. The car crashes down into a ravine until they hit the bottom. The boy is all scratched up and sees his mother banged up. The young man in his late teens grabs his mother and carries her on his back. He manages to climb out and flags down a car driving nearby. The man in the car asks what happened and nearly doesn't believe the boy when he tells him he had to climb up the ravine with his mother until he saw the car and the pieces flung about. He hurries them into the car and takes her to the nearest emergency center. We fast forward a few weeks into a hospital in Japan. The son is there caring for his mom. She is able to react and eat, but she is unable to speak or communicate. The doctor pulls the son aside and asks if he wants to pull her out of hospital care. The son says that with his father's help, he will transfer her to care in the United States at his new home, awaiting him. The doctor goes to comfort the mother by telling her that the new medical center in the States is the best, especially one built around the desert, he jokes. The son intervenes to tell him that where they are going there is a giant lake, an oasis of sorts. Unable to use her legs, her son helps her and they make their way to Salt Lake City. There they arrive to meet the boy's father. And the boy's father, he was a Japanese operator training in tandem with the US Air Force. His father was the best in Japan, and now he's with his family in their new home. He leans down to kiss his wife on her forehead. She tears, unable to communicate, but he assures her that soon things will have a way of working out. He tells his son that tomorrow his mother will have nurses over to care for her and that he wants to show off some of his work. The next day, he wakes to his mother attempting to walk. He cheers her but catches her as she stumbles. He tells her that perhaps she could wait a bit and let her body heal more. The nurses arrive and begin their care. He tells her that he is off to see his dad. Unable to fully speak, she half smiles. His dad drives him, and he tells him that his mom could stand enough to almost take her first step. His dad smirks and tells him that she's always had a stubborn heart to be free. The boy mentions that Salt Lake City looks worse than he imagined, to which his father starts to laugh. He shows him to a special hangar where he works. The boy sees the prototype mech under the codename Jaeger. His father tells him that it is the first type and they are contracts around the world attempting to make their own style of mechs, one to shepherd or to counter the kaiju. Here we meet the maintenance and engineer crew. After meeting his father's colleagues, his father pulls him aside and staring at the Jaeger. He tells him that he is now coming of age and needs to look into what he will do. He wonders if he wants to go to school, study to be a doctor or engineer, or if he's willing to help him into his own field in the military side. The young man tells his father that he'll likely watch over his mother for some time. He tries to convince him that he will help his mom and that he should focus on what he wants to do. An alarm starts to go off as we see the father tell the son to wait for him in the bunker with the others. The base goes on alert, and his father goes and boards the Jaeger prototype. He hears him on his comm, and this is the perfect test. He is transported via land cargo trucks. They pull up deeper into the desert and see a Class C Titan considered 2 times smaller than Godzilla, though it's still dwarfing the prototype Jaeger. The Jaeger parts are released from the cargo trucks as the operator, his father, begins connecting the parts. As it connects, the kaiju attacks, and he manages to beat it back, discouraging the kaiju. Here we identify the kaiju as Baragon, as it digs away to hibernate. The operator returns, and the prototype is returned and repaired. He is celebrated as he takes his son back home. At his doorstep, Alan Jonah awaits. Here is where he turns to the father and son and says, "So you're one of his," confused as to who he's referring to. In the distance we can hear some explosions coming from the base as a black suit soldier falls directly in front of them. Here he attempts to persuade them into joining him. The man in the black suit stands up and prepares to fight them, as the father declines them and commands them to leave. The father tells him to get to his mother, and Jonah smiles and steps back as if inviting him into his own home. He turns back to see his father in all red armor. He can continue to hear his voice in his head, tells him to take his mom to the base. The rest of the X team will help him. The young man sees the 2 armored men take their fight into the sky. The boy is able to get his mom and put her into the car. We see her place her hand on the window as she looks out for her husband in the clouds. Jonah waves him off and tells him he'd give him a head start. He is then picked up in a black SUV and they turn the opposite direction and drive off. As the young man and his mother arrive to the base, we see his father crash land in front of him. He sees the black figure in the rearview mirror and disappears. He stops in front of his father, who is mortally wounded, and he sees more armored figures arrive. They surround him and then tell him to move out of the way. The wounded man unmasks and nods to the armored ones around him, to which they turn around and chase after the black armored figure. The man then tells his son that no matter what he does in life, he has the power of his own will. He tells him that if he seeks to know more, to be like him and become like him, to seek a man named Guruman at Desert Peak. Here the father looks into the car to see his wife one last time, before fading away. We come back to the young man after a week. He is sitting in his private bedroom on base. Here we see several colleagues of his father enter and ask him to train. He turns them down and wishes to care for his mother only. He asks any of them as they're leaving if anyone know who Guruman is, to which they all look at each other and tell him when he's ready they will prepare to see him. We see a brief cut to Jonah speaking to the black armored figure. Her voice is raspy and deep, which is heard in the background as they both kneel. The voice tells him that the plan is nearly all set, and tells Jonah that he has plans for him in the west and the east. The black armored man summons his men, and they all jump in and kneel before. Jonah stands and tells them not to have too much fun as he departs. It is here the black armored man turns to Jonah, nods to him, and says, "I won't let you down, Dad." We conclude part 1 with the team taking the young man to the Desert Peak. He asks them why they are taking him there. They tell him that that is where the Cave of Creation is located. It is also the last protected route to the inner earth. The boy sees the red-headed man in the distance wearing a golden robe. The young man is led to him. "Are you Guruman?" he asks, to which the man cackles. "I am known by many names, but only your father called me Guruman." "You may call me Guruman, or Gandor, or Jormungandr, or Jorman. Just please never call me King. Crazy, sure, but never King." "Okay, let's go. I'm in my bathrobe here to initiate you, so let's move into my snake cave." He cackles again. He leads him through a small cave cavern, and at the end is an elevator. The man looks strangely at the boy and cackles again. He then stops him as he reaches the elevator, and tells him, "Just because I am laughing and joking does not mean I did not love your father. I laughed to remember him, and would do me honor if you continued to call me Guruman. And maybe one day you will find out why you call me that." Here is the halfway point and the end of Part 1 Ultraman. Now this is one aspect I wanted to cover in tribute to previous Ultraman. A somewhat safe, cliche story to play out, but I'm hoping for Part 2 to be much different than the ending you are anticipating. Please let me know if you like the direction I'm taking with the Monsterverse. Just a side note, I am taking the Cave Creation, which is in the mythology for the Aztecs, or the Mexica is the correct name, of the Nahuatl. What more did you want to include into the story? What would you change, and what parts did you like? Anywho, let me know in the comments, and like this, please. It does me so much better if you do, and gets into the algorithm, and I definitely appreciate that. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys in the next video. This is Mike G, aka Guts, out.